"Hush, little baby, don't say a word." The words drifted through the air, soft and haunting, like a ghostly whisper in the night. A familiar lullaby. But in the eerie town of Hollow Creek, it held a sinister secret. The streets, shrouded in mist, seemed to echo with the faint strains of the song, a melody that sent shivers down the spine. Legend had it, a forgotten verse, a verse shrouded in darkness, whispered to bring not sleep, but something evil. The ancient manuscript spoke of it in cryptic symbols, warning of the malevolent force it could summon, something hungry. Generations passed the warning down in hushed tones. Around the fireplace, elders would recount the tale, their voices trembling as they spoke of the horrors that awaited those who dared to recite the verse. Never utter the rhyme after midnight, never speak the forgotten verse. The clock's chime at midnight was a reminder, a signal to hold one's tongue and avoid the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of night, or face the consequences. The origin of the legend, lost to time. The old dusty scrolls and locked chests in forgotten attics held secrets that no one dared to uncover, for fear of what they might unleash. But the fear, that was real. It clung to the town like the fog that rolled in every night, thick and heavy. The mist seemed to carry whispers, echoes of the past, and the ever-present dread of the forbidden verse. The nursery rhyme was more than just a song in Hollow Creek. It was a curse. The toys, the music box, the drawings, all reminders of the innocence lost to the darkness that the verse could bring. A warning, a promise whispered from one generation to the next. Don't tempt the darkness. The candle's flame flickered and died, leaving only shadows and the chilling reminder of the curse that haunted Hollow Creek. Hollow Creek was a town trapped in time. Old Victorian houses stood shoulder to shoulder, their paint peeling like scabs. Shadows stretched long and gnarled from every corner. The silence was heavy, broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant cry of crows. The townsfolk were a tight-lipped bunch. Their eyes held secrets, their smiles thin and brittle. They knew the legend of the rhyme. They knew its power. The elders whispered of strange occurrences, disappearances, accidents, always after midnight, always linked to the rhyme. The air itself felt different in Hollow Creek. Heavy, oppressive, like a secret whispered in your ear, sending shivers down your spine. A secret that promised danger. Sarah, a young writer seeking inspiration, found herself drawn to Hollow Creek. Its eerie charm and unsettling history were the perfect ingredients for her next horror novel. The legend of the nursery rhyme intrigued her. Was it just a spooky tale, or was there something more to it? She was determined to find out. The townsfolk were reluctant to talk. Their eyes darted nervously when she mentioned the rhyme. Their silence spoke volumes. It fueled her curiosity, pushing her further down the rabbit hole. "There's something they're not telling me," she muttered, flipping through the brittle pages of a local history book. Something dark, something dangerous. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah found herself more and more drawn to the mystery of the rhyme. It was as if an invisible thread was pulling her deeper into the enigma, refusing to let her go. She spent her nights in the local library, poring over old documents, searching for clues. The dim light of the library cast long shadows, and the silence was only broken by the rustling of ancient pages. One chilly evening, as the grandfather clock in the library chimed midnight, she stumbled upon a hidden journal tucked away in the archives. The journal was bound in worn leather, its cover cracked with age. Its yellowed pages contained a chilling account of the rhyme's origins. The handwriting was spidery and difficult to read, but Sarah persevered, her curiosity piqued. The journal spoke of a ritual, a forbidden verse that could summon a being of immense power. The illustrations were eerie, depicting dark ceremonies and shadowy figures, a being that craved fear. The more she read, the more she felt an unsettling presence around her, a being that could grant wishes at a terrible price. The journal warned of the consequences, but also hinted at the unimaginable power one could gain. As she read, a cold dread crept up her spine. The words seemed to come alive, whispering to her, filling her mind with dark thoughts. The air grew colder, and the shadows in the library seemed to twist and writhe. It was as if the very walls were closing in on her, the darkness becoming almost tangible. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The journal's words echoed in her mind. The forbidden verse played on a loop in her head. She felt an unsettling presence, a coldness that seemed to seep from the walls. Then she heard it. A soft, melodic humming coming from outside her window. It was the nursery rhyme, but it was different, darker, more sinister. Peeking through the blinds, she saw a figure standing in the street below. Its form was obscured by shadow, but she could feel its gaze piercing through her. Terror gripped her heart. The figure began to move, gliding silently towards her, its humming growing louder. The melody was hypnotic, pulling her in. Sarah wanted to scream, but fear froze her voice. She stumbled back from the window, her heart pounding in her chest. The humming grew louder, closer. She slammed the window shut and drew the curtains tight, but the sound continued to penetrate the room. It was as if the melody itself was alive, seeping into her very being. Her head throbbed. The room spun. The forbidden verse, the one she had read in the journal, began to play in her mind, an irresistible siren song. She tried to fight it, to block it out, but the melody was too powerful. It wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket, pulling her down, down into the darkness. Driven by a force she couldn't control, Sarah found herself back at the window. The shadowy figure was gone, but the humming continued, vibrating in her very bones. She knew what she had to do. She had to find someone who knew the truth, someone who could help. She raced through the deserted streets, the chilling melody echoing in her ears. She banged on the door of the oldest house in town, the home of the town historian, a reclusive old woman who was said to know all the town's secrets. "Please," Sarah gasped, her voice trembling, "you have to help me. The rhyme, it's real." The old woman, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resignation, let Sarah in. She had been expecting this. She had seen it all before. The rhyme, the old woman croaked, her voice raspy with age. It's a gateway, a door to another realm. She showed Sarah an old, faded photograph. It depicted a group of people standing in a circle chanting. Their faces were twisted in ecstasy and fear. They sought power, the old woman continued, her voice barely a whisper. They summoned a being of immense power, a creature that feeds on fear. But the creature couldn't be controlled, Sarah whispered, her blood running cold. The old woman nodded grimly. It turned on them, trapping their souls within the rhyme itself. Now it seeks to lure others in, to feed on their fear, to keep itself tethered to this world. Sarah's mind reeled. She was trapped in a nightmare. The rhyme wasn't just a story, it was a prison, and she had opened the door. The melody, Sarah shuddered. It's drawing me in. The old woman's eyes filled with pity. It's already too late for you, child. The rhyme has chosen its next victim. Despair threatened to consume Sarah, but then the old woman spoke again, her voice stronger now, filled with a newfound determination. There might be a way to break the curse, she said, her eyes flickering with a faint glimmer of hope. A forgotten counter-rhyme, hidden within the original text. She pointed to the journal. It's there, somewhere in those pages, the key to banishing the creature back to the darkness. Time was running out. The melody was growing louder, more insistent. Sarah could feel her sanity slipping away. Frantically, Sarah scanned the journal, her fingers tracing the faded ink. Each word seemed to blur into the next, but she couldn't stop. She had to find the answer, the solution to the nightmare that had been haunting her. Her heart pounded in her chest, a relentless drumbeat that echoed her growing fear. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, making her hands tremble. The humming was deafening now, a sinister melody that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It filled the room, pressing in on her from all sides. She could almost feel the creature's icy breath on her neck, a chilling reminder of the danger she was in. The air around her grew colder, and she shivered involuntarily. And then she saw it. Her eyes widened in shock as she realized what she had missed before, a small, almost invisible passage scribbled in the margins. It was hidden so well that she wondered how she had even noticed it. It was written in a language she didn't recognize, but somehow she understood. The words seemed to speak directly to her mind, bypassing any need for translation. But as she read the words, a wave of terror washed over her. The meaning became clear, and with it, the full horror of her situation. It wasn't a counter-rhyme to banish the creature. It was something far worse. It was a binding oath, a promise of servitude. Her heart sank as she realized the implications. The journal wasn't a warning, it was a guide to enslavement, to eternal bondage, and she had just read the final verse aloud. The room grew dark, the humming ceased. The silence was even more terrifying than the noise had been. And then, a cold, rasping voice echoed in her mind. It was as if the very shadows were speaking to her. "Well done," it whispered, filled with chilling amusement. The voice was both mocking and triumphant. "You've just set me free." The realization hit her like a physical blow. She had unwittingly unleashed something ancient and malevolent.